Hey guys, welcome to Game Bet today, bringing you another video, and today we'll be covering World War III news. So World War III just dropped a new trailer today. If you paid attention to what's been going on with World War III, they actually started dropping a lot of teasers on July 5th. So I made a video about this just the other day, covering all the information that they have been releasing, or building up to the information release, which was today. So there was a countdown going on over on Twitter, counting down to July 14th, which is today, and we have a new trailer where they walk through a lot of the improvements that they're making, and that the game World War III is now in full development. So it seems like they're finally going to push this thing past the early access mark, put it into full development, which it is now, and move it into a final release. So there will be maybe an official beta before the official release, most likely later this year after Battlefield or very early in 2022. So let's break this down in the trailer. I'll link the trailer down below because they do narrate everything that they're doing here. I'm just going to reiterate it and give some of my thoughts here in the trailer. First off, I just wanted to touch some of the gameplay for some reason really reminds me of Medal of Honor Warfighter. I don't know why, just some of that blur and some of the optics and the weapons reminds me a little bit of Medal of Honor Warfighter, but I did notice outright some new weapons and things like that we'll get into here, which is really good to see. Overall, the trailer itself looks awesome. So first off, development's back in full swing. First off, they're covering map improvements. So there was a lot of map improvements to existing maps as well as new maps that are going to be coming to the game. So they improve things like navigation, enhance the maps themselves. So the existing maps like Polyarny being one of them, for example, a lot of enhancements to those maps to make them more realistic, as well as keeping in mind the real world geography for the map. So I was actually on this game playing the other day, and I think Polyarny, for example, is a really good map, but you can see on some of the maps where there's definitely room for improvements with texture and things like that, and it seems like that's what they're doing here. So that's really good to see. Second off, here is going to be gunplay, so more realistic gunplay. I think the gunplay in the game itself was actually really good, so I'm excited to see what this feels like and looks like when we get in and play this new variant of the game, or the updated version of the game here. So more realistic gunplay, altered play and animations from what was originally in the game, so they've made a lot of improvements there, especially the recoil system. The weapon recoil, things like that are much more realistic. Grenades, movement overall has been overhauled, so all the movement, weapon animations, recoil, the way the weapons handle, it feels like, just looking at the gameplay, that the weapons feel like they have, or look like they have, more power to them. So they will have probably some more recoil, which is good to see. I can just see some of the gameplay. The weapons look like they're kicking. Like the 7.62 weapons, you see like what looks like an AKM or an AK-103 just kicking pretty heavily, which is actually good to see. It doesn't look like it has insane uncontrollable recoil, but it just looks powerful, which is fun to see. So next up, being playable realism. So this is something that they mentioned here, is a new feature that enhances, or I guess an existing feature that they're enhancing upon, is going to be enhanced immersion. So it's basically their version of, I guess, realism to the tactical shooter with this update to the game. So the feature that's going to enhance immersion without taking away or impacting from the gameplay. So that's always a fine balance. How do you make a good, immersive, realistic type first-person shooter that's a modern military shooter while also not impacting the gameplay, right? It still needs to be fun to play and not like a hardcore one-shot, one-kill. Although there is a pretty fast time to kill in the current version of World War III, which I do actually like that. So that's a good thing. Playable realism, hopefully they'll be touching more on that going forward, but I already think they had a lot of this in place. So really everything they're doing here is enhancing. They had the base, the groundwork for this game, so they're just really finally finishing this and enhancing everything that they had already put in, and finishing it. So obviously, with a collaboration with My.Games, giving them the money that they need to do that, they're able to make these improvements and really actually finish the game finally. So you can tell the original was just a very early version of the game, and finally they're picking up development and going to finish their original vision, which is good to see. Next up, something that you may notice from the Battlefield trailers here, and as well as we've seen it in Crysis as well, and some other games, being what they're calling the backpacks. This is basically on-the-go weapon customization in the game itself. You don't need to go to the menu or anything like that. You don't need to die and then edit your weapon. You can be in-game live, about to maybe approach into a building that you need to breach, and you can re-kit your weapon by utilizing what's called the backpack. So presumably you'll have maybe a specific amount of attachments that you can kind of carry on you in your backpack, and then you can obviously swap out attachments on the go. So if I'm maybe a sniper, or I'm using maybe a long barrel, let's say a long barrel AR, and I'm about to breach a building, I need to go in and clear out the building and take an objective, I might need to swap out for a shorter barrel option. Maybe I want a suppressor. I want to bring that AR, that long barrel AR, down to a SBR, a short barrel rifle. So I can do that with the backpack feature. So we'll have to see if you can really customize your weapon however you want, or if there will be some sort of limits to what you can actually carry in your backpack. Next up here would be the improved movement system. So the improved movement system adds things like sprinting, tactical sprinting, so you have like the double sprint that we're used to if you guys played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and some other first-person shooters nowadays are adding this tactical sprint where you raise your weapon and sprint around. They showed this off way back last year when they were first doing updates to the game. They did tease this a long time ago before the collaboration with My.Games, I believe it was. So we've known this is something that's going to be coming. The tactical sprint, the sliding, that's all good to see the gameplay improvements as well as the movement improvements. Crawling, your different prone positions, things like that look like they're new. I didn't play too much of the original, so I'm not familiar with all the prone positions, but overall the movement overhaul should be good for the game. Next up for vehicles, better physics for vehicle play. So they're basically just making the vehicles a little bit more realistic, I guess. They did feel a little bit choppy to drive. The vehicle physics, they just didn't. The movement system of the vehicles just always felt a little strange. So hopefully this brings them up to at least an easier, or I guess a more smooth experience when you're driving a tank, for example, if there's helicopters, things like that. So they just improved that again, so that's good to see. Customization is a big one here. So World War III, I would say, is probably second best, or maybe in line with Tarkov when it comes to customization. It looks like they added a lot more here. So customization, obviously more guns, accessories, different strike packs, things like that. You can see what looks like not quite kill streaks, but you can see the way World War III works is it's on a point system essentially. So you'll call in UAVs, you can call in tanks to drop, airstrikes, mortar strikes, things like that. So they'll have different new strikes. They'll have the additional guns and attachments. And World War III has always been, it's been that game that, like I said, probably even better than Tarkov, because you can not only customize your operator with a lot of different loadouts, kits, gear, you can customize the headwear, the radios that he's wearing for the earpieces, different plate carriers, different pants, shirts, everything that you can really customize your operator however you want them, and then add on to that all the weapon customization, which looks amazing. I can definitely spot new weapons, new attachments here in the game, especially when they're going through the backpack system and changing your loadout on the fly with the different attachments. It looks really good. I'm really excited to see what else they've added, because World War III was a really fun game to get into and have fun just customizing your weapons. And I can see a lot of new weapons and a lot of new optics, attachments, things like that. It just looks a lot of fun, especially with that backpack mode, or the feature for the backpack mode where you can just edit everything on the fly. Next up is the new UI elements, the user interface elements. They added new menus and optimized the existing menus, reworked the in-game HUD so it's less cluttered, more focus on the gameplay. Better looking minimap. The minimap, again, was very plain from what I remember playing this game. Very plain, so they've added more detail. You can actually spot where enemies are when you need to, when it's essential, or when it makes sense that they're going to show up. I'm not sure how they're going to show up on the minimap, if it's going to be with enemy fire, or it's just when you have a UAV up, is typically how I remember it working. New deployment system, So new deployment system, you can spawn maybe on squad mates, things like that. However they're going to rework that. Spawning on flags easier. Probably just an overhaul too, like they're saying, the UI. It's not as confusing. If you're just jumping into the game itself today, it's definitely a little bit confusing as to how to deploy and where. So that hopefully that'll alleviate any of the confusion there. And then a big thing here is they actually added a kill cam. So a lot of times I'd be wondering, geez, like, how did that guy kill me? So it'll be good to at least see that. Even though with kill cams historically they're not one-to-one, but at least you'll get an idea as to where that guy was. Maybe he was peeking that corner and I just wasn't expecting him to be there. It'd be good to see how that kill actually took place. And the reason they list this in the trailer is mainly to learn from, and I think that's a good point. Someone like myself, I don't know the maps very well. I don't know the game that well. I played a little bit here and there, and I did enjoy it a lot. So it'll be good to see how maybe more experienced players play the game and just learn from them that way. So with the kill cam, so that'll be good. Overall, I think this is great news. They didn't address any release dates or anything like that. This is basically just a development update, and like I said, the gameplay itself, just some of the weapons with like the ACOG sights reminds me a lot of modern Medal of Honor Warfighter for some reason. Just with a lot of the blur on the modernized weapons, the ACOGs, M4s, things like that. It looks really good. The movement system should be really cool to see. I'm really excited to get my hands on some of the new weapons as well as the new attachments for the weapons. World War III, like I said, World War III and Tarkov are probably the top two when it comes to customization in games. And I think World War III probably takes the cake there, just because you can not only customize your weapons with a lot of different accessories, but also your operator. And here, from what I'm seeing in the trailer, I'm seeing a lot of new attachments added to the game and new weapons. So it'll be a lot of fun to get my hands on this eventually. I know they're doing the play tests right now. User feedback is what they're taking into account when making all these changes. I'm expecting a release probably at the very tail end of this year or early 2022. They are not going to want to compete with Battlefield 2042 or Call of Duty here, which is going to be October, early November timeline. So you can expect this maybe around Christmas or very early January, February, most likely, so they can kind of have a window for those games, the hype to die down. And then here comes World War III. People are maybe getting sick of those other games, need a break, need something a little bit different. Here comes World War III to the rescue, which is really what it was always meant to be. Their original marketing was to compete with Battlefield 5 and take that Battlefield audience that was craving that modern military experience and deliver it. So that's their original vision. I'm excited to see what they do with this. I'm really excited to get my hands on this. Like I said, this is the reason. This game here is the reason I got a PC to begin with. Obviously, the YouTube channel, everything like that was one reason. But I did say if I'm going to play any PC game, it's going to be World War III. So finally, I'll get a chance to jump back in this. The servers are actually alive right now that you have some more players. But there was a good chunk of about a year there where there was nobody on the game. So it'll be a lot of fun to finally play this game the way it was intended. 20v20 with some of these new modes that they're describing. I'm excited for more news. I think we can expect more information later on this month, but stay tuned. I'll link the website down below. They also have a Discord. You can go ahead and check that out for more information, as well as their social media links for World War III, Farm 51, working now in collaboration with My.Games. Really excited to see where this game goes. Let me know down below what you guys think. Till next time, this is Buffering Gaming out.